Hi and welcome back, and today's movie is this. The Italian Job, the movie from 1969 where Michael Caine became peak Michael Caine. As we know from the channel, I like a good caper film. I like a little bit of crime, a little bit of Rafifi, and this one is the top bit of Michael Caine. Now, right at the start, I'm going to get the bit that everybody knows about and everybody likes out of the way, and that is right here.
You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
The Italian Job's a 1969 caper movie. It stars Michael Caine, Noel Coward, Raffaellone, Benny Hill, oddly enough, and then Benny Hill's a problematic one in this one, and a bunch of other English actors. Now, this is the kind of movie that people who like Brexit are going to like, because there's a lot of English nationalism in The Italian Job. Michael Caine stars as Charlie Croker, a criminal who has an idea, aided by his friend Roger, who gets killed at the start of the movie, to rob the city of Turin in Italy of $4 million, which was a lot of money in those days. These days it may well buy you a house with a harbour view in Sydney, but in those days it was a lot of money. Aided by Mr. Bridger, played by Noel Coward, who basically runs crime in England, and Noel Coward playing a very kind of slightly camp and very louche criminal mastermind. Originally the producers of the film wanted a different actor for that role. They wanted to get somebody like Nicole Williamson, who would have given a kind of hard intensity to the movie, but as production continued and they went on to go with a lighter style, they wanted a bit of comedy, so they got in Noel Coward instead. And he had some health issues at the time, but he does give a nice performance as Mr. Bridger. Originally, Robert Evans, who was the producer of the movie for Paramount Studios, wanted to get Robert Redford to play the Michael Caine role. But the other producers in the film went, nah, we've got to get an Englishman. It's a very English kind of film. And Michael Caine had just come off a really good run of successful movies. He started out with Zulu, and then Alfie, and then The Oppressed File, and Funeral in Berlin, and went into The Italian Job. So he was right at that peak of his fame as a movie actor, which continued on in the 1970s in movies like Get Carter. But this is probably peak Michael Caine. So the criminals come up with a fantastic plan to cause an enormous traffic jam in the middle of Turin, hit the armoured car which has got $4 million in Chinese gold in it, and escape in a whole bunch of Mini Cooper S's. The credit really has to go to Remy Julien, who ran the stunt car crew. Remy Julien, a French stunt performer, is the guy for any kind of stunt work in cars in the late 20th century. If you remember the Robert De Niro film Ronin, Remy Julien and his team did the car chases in that one. He is the guy that escalated car chases and filming action scenes with cars to an extremely high level. And one of the things he did was put some science into it. He knew that if you took a car at a certain speed and you hit a ramp of a certain angle and exactly straight on, you would get the results you want. It was all science for him. It wasn't guesswork, it wasn't skill, it was purely the numbers. And it shows in this movie. The stunt work is fantastic. There's a scene where the cars are going through a sewer tunnel, and Remy Julien nearly got a car to loop the tunnel. The only thing that stopped him was there was water in the tunnel. If it had had a dry tunnel, he would have done a 360-degree loop with a Mini Cooper S. And that would have been something to see. Nonetheless, the stunts that we do get are fantastic. They run the cars around the circuit that's on the top of the Fiat factory in Turin. There's actually a driving circuit on top of the factory there. Michael Caine as Charlie Croker is fantastic. Maggie Blythe playing his girlfriend is a lot of fun as well. And this is a movie that's just replete with cool 1960s stuff. The set designs are great. The clothing is all beautiful. And of course the movie is immensely entertaining, and the locations in the Italian Alps and in Italy and in England as well are pretty well selected. This movie has so much going for it. One of the things it has that really works for me is it's rewatchable. You can watch it every couple of years and still enjoy it. The only, as I mentioned before, the problematic bit is Benny Hill's character, Professor Peach, who likes fat women basically, but is also very hands-on with, he's not really big into consent, and that doesn't play particularly well to a modern audience. But there are a couple of character moments with that character that kind of don't quite redeem it, but make it a little more acceptable. There's a nice scene with him and Michael Caine in the Italian Alps with some flowers that works, but for the most part, that bit is a bit cringeworthy to a modern audience. Leaving that aside, everything else works well. The crime itself is beautifully done, and the director Peter Collinson, who did a few really great films. He did one of my favourite 1970s spy movies, a movie called Innocent Bystanders with Stanley Baker, which you should check out if you can find a copy of it. It is on Blu-ray, an English release Blu-ray, and it's a really tough little spy movie that doesn't get anywhere near enough love. But Peter Collinson did a great job with this. The second unit work is fantastic with the cameras attached to the cars, and the lovely thing about the way it's cut and the way it's directed is at every moment you know exactly what's going on with the crime. And that's of course something that people learned from Jules Dassin in movies like Rafifi. If you're going to do a crime, you need to have exactly the right shots to keep the audience with you. If you start doing things and the audience don't know why you're doing it, you're going to lose them. But the Italian Job does that and remarkably well. It's got all the coolness of the 1960s about it. It's a really enjoyable movie. Now, a lot of people like the scene with Michael Caine, and I'll play it again for you right here.
You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
But for me, the best scene of the movie is the first scene of the movie over the title sequence. You get a beautiful red Lamborghini Miura driven by Rossano Brasi going through the Italian Alps. He lights a cigarette, he puts his sunglasses on. He's cruising through the mountains while Matt Monroe's iconic theme song plays. He goes into a tunnel and hits a bulldozer left there by the mafia. That's a metaphor for life right there. You're cruising along, you're just getting your shit together, you've got all of your ducks lined up, and then you go into a tunnel and you hit the wall of death. It's a metaphor for life. So if you haven't seen The Italian Job for a while, it's probably about time that you re-watched it. It's, as I said, immensely re-watchable, beautifully shot, state-of-the-art stunt work, a lot of fun, some really nice characters, leaving aside Benny Hill. But for me, it's one of my favourites of the 1960s, and it's really, really worth checking out again. It would have been a total disaster with Nicole Williamson and Robert Redford, but fortunately we dodged that bullet. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. You can also hit the notification bell. Let me know what you think of The Italian Job and any other 1960s crime movies you like. There are a whole lot of them. There's the biggest bundle of them all. There's a movie with Edward G. Robinson called Grand Slam, which is pretty cool. The Italians did some nice crime stuff in the 1960s as well. It's an immensely rewarding time for anti-authoritarian criminal activity in cinema. Anyway, look after yourself, stay safe, watch some good movies, watch some crime movies, and I'll be back soon with something else. I'm actually going to foreshadow what I'm doing next. The next movie I'm going to talk about in a couple of days is I Married a Monster from Outer Space, classic 1950s drive-in science fiction. And I'm looking forward to rewatching that one too. So anyway, take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you later.
Did you see?